Hey everyone, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 262. On this episode, we're going to be talking all about our holiday gift guide, Switch sales numbers that seem to be declining, and also Play NYC and a big Nintendo meetup that happened over the weekend. We'll also go for some quick headlines and, of course, talk about the games we've been playing. But before we get into any of all that, my name is Steve, and I'm just grateful to be here with all of you and talk video games. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host Barry. How's it going?
Hey Steve, always a pleasure, and yeah, it's just been a time.
It's been a time. And our other co-host Greg. Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Things are going pretty good over here. Had some great gaming time over the last few weeks. Ready to get going on another podcast.
Cool. Well, we go live pretty much every Monday, and we encourage you to join us live. Every other Monday. I left out every other, didn't I? Every other Monday. Yes. Sorry, those off days. You can listen to old episodes on those off days. But we are every other Monday, and we go live on YouTube and Twitch at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And we absolutely love you guys joining us in the live chat and throwing all your thoughts about what we talk about, all the games you've been playing, all the opinions you guys have about the news that we'll talk about, and everything else, and just the general chatter that always happens within the chat room. Usually of them, also catching that I said something wrong or that I time travel or something like that. So it's usually my mistakes do involve something to get to do with timing or pronouncing something Japanese. One of those two things will happen in every episode for sure. So, but we are also on social media. You can follow us at NintendoFuse on Twitter. We absolutely love you connecting with us. We do some giveaways over there every once in a while. We gave away some Play NYC tickets, and we'll talk about a little bit more about Play NYC. So congratulations to all those that won. I hope you guys had a great time. And also, if you have not joined our Discord yet, we absolutely just love connecting with you and just the growing community we have over in our Discord. So the link is on the screen. It's free. Just join it. Also, the link is in the show notes or the YouTube description. And if you're listening to this on audio and you've never checked out the video, we are on YouTube. Our archive of all of our episodes, the video versions are on YouTube, but you can also watch us over on Twitch live. And so all those links and everything in the show notes, YouTube description, all those different things, and we would love for you to check it out. But let's jump into what we have been playing recently, and we're gonna switch it up, change the order up a little bit tonight. We're gonna go to Greg first.
Alrighty, so pretty much since the last podcast, I got a little time with Oddworld, Soulstorm, which we'll be talking about, all three of us, in a little moment here. But for the ones I can talk more in depth for, was actually loaded up Super Mario Maker 2. So several podcasts ago, we referenced those full game worlds that were made more recently, and I checked out the 1-1 world and made it through the first three worlds, and by the end of world 3 things have really gotten spicier and really hard. So if you can imagine the original level of Mario 1 getting any more difficult, then you really should check out this super world, because it's very incredible and will really test your platform abilities. Then I also checked out Witchcrafty. I had also mentioned on several podcasts ago that I was interested in it, and I thankfully got I got a copy of the game. So then I was playing through it, and it seems like it's a lot of fun so far. It's a little action adventure game, kind of almost like a Link to the Past kind of style, side scrolling thing, and you go around collecting different items and going through collecting gems, and then you eventually start learning spells to take down obstacles and stuff that are in your way. So I learned the fire spell and made it through the first forest area, and I just had quite a blast playing it, and looking forward to playing some more, because it is actually honestly quite a blast to play. And then pretty much my two staples for last several podcasts is the Fire Emblem Heroes, which is just going through wrapping up the books 6 now, so book 7 is going to be right around the corner. And then also still playing a little bit of Roblox with Adopt Me with my daughter, and just having quite a blast with that. They wrapped up like a Halloween event over there, and it was just kind of fun to play through like their mini games and collecting the limited time items available.
Nice, nice. Let us know if what you're playing in the chat. We'll refer to it throughout the episode as well. But let's head over to Barry. What have you been playing over the last couple weeks?
Yeah, so on the Switch, I'm still doing Pokemon Unite, still doing daily. There's a Halloween event still going on, so I've been working on that. And like Greg mentioned, Oddworld Soulstorm, which we'll be talking about in a bit. But I also alluded at the end of the last podcast that that was the start of like a waterfall of just releases, just back to back to back to back to back releases of games that I really wanted to play. Like the back end of this year is insane. So I'm like, oh my god, I've got to try and tackle these games to the best of my ability. I was working on Mario and Rabbids last time, so I finished it and got 100%. And just in time for another game, which I'll get to in a second. But Bayonetta 3 was one of the ones that came out. So I got to play and beat Bayonetta 3. I did not 100% it. I did not go for all the. There's the three different. There's the crow, the cat, and the frog in each level. I did not go for that. Some of those cats and birds were driving me crazy. I'm like, no, I hate collecting moving objects. But it was a lot of fun. I see where some people might have some criticism with the story, but I liked what they did with it. In fact, I really liked what they did with it because I love multiversal stories. So this is that, very much so. And the ending leaves it in a interesting direction, which I can see some people loving and some people hating. For me, I'm a little indifferent on it, but it's a blast to play, and Jennifer Hale did a great job. And I think I see the cameo that they wanted Helena Taylor to come back for, and it would have been really cool if she did, but she didn't. So Jennifer Hale just knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad I didn't boycott the game. I had a blast. If you like action games, and there wasn't that many lines. I mean, like there was just not that many lines overall.
Yeah.
But what I'm playing right now, and I'm still playing, is Harvestella came out last week, and I have been playing Harvestella almost nonstop. It's a bigger game than I expected. I think it's like 9 chapters. I'm still in chapter 3 because it like branches. There's like 3 different sections. It's almost like chapter 3 is the equivalent of going to like a Link to the Past to get the 3 pendants. Like that whole thing is like one chapter. But what's interesting is in order to get to like the equivalent of the 3 pendants, you got to go through like these area dungeons. And the way the areas are like they're designed, where there's like a beginning, middle, end, and there's like checkpoints, but it's really tough to do it in one day. Like it'll take multiple days, especially if then that's just getting through this area, and that's not if doing extra stuff. You get an extra town after that with a bunch of side quests. There's tons of side quests, great side quests. The combat works. The job system is a lot of fun. In fact, I'm playing a mage. I didn't think I would play a mage, but like there's no real dodge mechanic, and I think especially coming from Bayonetta, where I'm like, oh, I'm attacking, dodge, and I can't do that, so I'm hurting myself, and then I got to heal by using food, and I got to cook the food, and that takes resources. So I'm like, I'm gonna play a mage. I'm gonna have my party go in there and tank, and just stay in the back and cast. The farming mechanic is not a big deal. Like you do it, but it's so simple. Like if that's like, oh, I'm not gonna touch Harvestella because it's farming. It's so simple and minor. Like this is really well done. It's like Rune Factory, but with even less of an emphasis on the farming. It's a full RPG story. Really cool characters. It's got like a Persona style thing where you can like gain reputation with characters as well, and you have to choose your time wisely. And some quests will take you 5 minutes, and like one quest I did today where it was like, oh yeah, you want to wait with me, and you could choose to wait. If you don't wait, you don't conclude the story. But if you wait, like it legit will take the whole day. And then if the quest finishes and it's nighttime, and it's like, well, there goes that entire day worth of doing anything, because there is a clock and it does tick on. So there's an infinite time. There's no like, oh, you have to do this by a certain amount of time, but there's only so many things you could do in a day. A lot of fun. Definitely recommend. In fact, my plan was to finish Harvestella by tomorrow to do God of War or Sonic, and I'm pushing both of those aside because I'm nowhere near done with Harvestella and I'm having too much fun with it. But I also on the PS5 played Star Ocean: The Divine Force, which was another one of those games that came out right before Bayonetta, a day before. Love the Star Ocean series. Did not fall in love with the previous entry. It was okay. It was like a decent, but the Divine Force was fantastic. They did a lot right with this, and I think my only criticism of the game would be there's a lot of false endings, and false endings are fine. They're typical in an RPG, but when you do like 4 false endings, by the third one you're just like, can we just over it now? Like, come
Yeah.
on, like I'm ready at this point emotionally for this to be done.
Yeah.
And there is 2 paths you can pick, 2 different characters, and they're together for the majority of the game, but they do branch off at parts where one character does one thing, one character does another thing. So you only see one side of that story, and then they meet up and like, oh, why is this character here? Oh, I'll tell you about it later, kind of deal. The objection is to play it again, but I'm not gonna, not anytime soon. But I will say it's a shorter RPG. Like, it's between 20 and 30 hours. Like, it's not a 100-hour thing. It's a good length. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Although, if you're not a big fan of false endings, you're gonna get a lot of those. It actually goes to multiple worlds. I was scared. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be like Star Ocean 5, where we're on one world the entire time, except the very end. But no, you go to multiple planets. More of that at the end, but at least you do go to multiple places. Great cast of characters. Combat is fun and it's fluid. And you have like flying mechanics. You can fly around the area. It's just a lot of fun. Unfortunately, not on Switch, but it is a lot of fun. So, Square Enix has been hitting it out of the park this second half of the year. PC, speaking of Square Enix, still doing Final Fantasy 14, and on mobile, still playing Mario Kart Tour.
Cool. Going to the chat, looks like Jakester has been playing, or actually finished up, post-game story for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of the Sky, and started special episodes. Got to the 5th Star Spirit in Paper Mario, and I'm still playing Mother 3. Also made an attempt to play Mario Superstars, but it crashes at like 9 out of 15 turns and makes him consider burning it. That's awesome. Yeah, I've had a couple games recently that have made me want to not burn it, but stop playing because of crashes and some different issues. In fact, I'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, we've been playing, as we mentioned earlier, Barry and Greg and I have been playing Oddworld Soulstorm that we'll be getting into in our game chat, and just a little bit more of that. I also went back and played more Carl, and I have some amendments to my review or my thoughts on the game from last episode. There are a lot of glitches in this game, and I wouldn't say it's not riddled with them. Like, it's not like every time you turn around there's a glitch, but there's a lot more than probably should be in there. And luckily, like, they'll be working on it, and they'll have patches and stuff like that and everything. But I did find several. I ended up the boss that I thought was ridiculously hard is still incredibly hard, but it was much easier after I took Barry and Greg's advice to actually level up my player and level up Carl and all that stuff. And the rest of the game was like, there's really, the boss levels are the harder part. The bosses are pretty easy. The boss levels are the hardest part of it, getting to the boss. But thankfully, for all the what do you call those? The checkpoints and stuff like that, then it makes it a lot better and less frustrating and stuff like that. But there were several times where, yeah, it happened once with these guys after the last episode, and then it happened like 3 or 4 other times where I found like game-breaking glitches that totally froze me. I couldn't progress anymore, and it was like, this is kind of a pain. Luckily, every time it didn't keep the orbs or whatever I got to collect, the three of
Chips.
it to ships every time. But the other things that I collected, I didn't lose it. So it did save them every time, even if the game glitched out and stopped. Like I rebooted the game and I already had it. So that was really nice. Like that would have been really annoying if I lost it altogether. But I still had fun with it. But there are some glitches that you could find, and basically just don't go exploring too much. Let's say that. If it's not obvious that there's something there to get, don't go for it. You're probably not supposed to go there. Uh, also ended up playing more of Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, surprise, surprise, and beat the game. I did not 100% it like Barry. I think I'm like 84% or something. Like I got a lot of it done. And I think it's probably going to be one of those that I'll go back to here and there and maybe eventually get it closer and closer to 100% over time. But it's not something I have to do. But yeah, I was really pleased with the ending. I kind of saw it coming a little bit, some of the twists and stuff that they have at the end. But it's still really well done. And yeah, I'd still highly recommend that game as well. And also, I went back to a game that I forgot that I had gotten a code for Lego Brawls, and played, I'd say, about 15 minutes of it, and that's about enough.
Ready for a review already?
Yeah,
That good, huh?
I mean, it's okay. It's for kids. It's definitely for kids. It's for a younger audience for sure. It's a very young version of like Smash Brothers with Lego characters, and it's like one button for the most part the whole time, and you do have a jump button, but you have other actions that you get, but only after picking up certain items and stuff. So yeah, it's the hit boxes and all that stuff are a little off, and you don't even like get any like action, and when you beat someone they just disappear because it's made for kids. They don't even fall apart like they do in other Lego games. They just disappear and you're like, oh, I guess I beat them. But you know, it's okay game. If you have kids, you might want to check it out. But then played some Rocket League and some Clash Royale, of course. So still, I hadn't played nearly as much of either of those games because most of my time was spent with Mario and Rabbids, Carl, and Oddworld. But yeah. So that's the games we have been playing. Again, if you're in the chat, feel free to let us know what you have been playing. But if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, let us know in the comments. We'd love to know what you guys are playing. But if you're listening to the podcast and there's like you don't have comments, be sure to like toss them in on our social media or Discord or something like that. We absolutely love hearing what you guys have been playing, what you're liking, what you're not liking, and all that stuff as well. But let's jump into our game chat for this episode, and we're going to talk all about Oddworld Soulstorm.
Yeah, so thankfully we got codes from Microids for Oddworld Soulstorm, so thank you very much. Just full disclaimer. Oddworld Soulstorm is the next entry in the Oddworld series. I believe it's like a remake of the first game, actually. It came out, or it's coming out on November 18th for the Switch. It was developed by Oddworld Inhabitants, and again, published by Microids. This is a two-dimensional platformer, but it's more than platformer, and it has like stealth. It has escorts, almost like lemmings. It's got some kind of puzzles, different types of physical puzzles, like physics puzzles, like with angles, with throwing things. Very challenging, and a game that will test your patience. Thankfully, has a lot of checkpoints. Beautiful graphics, interesting story, beautiful cutscenes. But I'm really curious what your thoughts are on Oddworld Soulstorm. So let's go to Greg. It should be pretty fresh in your head. So what were your thoughts?
Well, I just want to preface, I've only completed the first level because I pretty much remembered we were covering this on tonight's podcast. So it was just like a few hours before the podcast of actually playing it. I just said put it off and couldn't put it off anymore, pretty much. But I really enjoyed those cutscenes that you were saying, like talking about. They're very articulate and very like detailed, and like all the story elements are very like strongly represented, and definitely got me very engaged and interested to see where it goes. The actual gameplay, it seems like it kind of worked for me for the most part. I did have a little trouble kind of doing some of the jumps and controlling. Like the movement is not quite as fluid as I was expecting, but I'm sure it's just like a learning curve that I need to pick up on. And then in addition, like the actual like when you're equipping items was kind of difficult for me at the first time, like when you first get the water bottles for the first intro cave. So like it was saying to like go into your inventory and then you can equip them. So then I hit the X button and it opened up an inventory, and then I was see the water bottles. I'm like adding it, and that's adding it to these unknown areas of the interface, and I'm trying to then put out the fires, and it was not allowing me to throw any, like it was throwing empty air because it wasn't in my hand. So like after like it took at least like 10 minutes for me to figure out what the heck was going on. Like you actually have to hold down X, and then it opens up an actual menu to equip the bottles. And once that was solved, then it was no problems going forward. But I was kind of uncertain why they would have a button do two different functions in two different areas that didn't accomplish the same end goal. But I don't know if you need the full inventory like later on for other things, but having that go to two different areas and doing two different things in my eyes seemed awfully confusing and was somewhat difficult to figure out the first time through. And I had to reread the hints like several times just to, like realize I was missing like, oh, hold X and not just like press X.
Yeah.
But I did make it through the first level. I found all 4 secret areas. They were like not terribly too secret, and you could actually find them. Like I was finding some of the hidden jelly things, and I didn't get them all, but I got most of them. I didn't realize there was gonna be lots of secrets in the level, so I wasn't really thoroughly exploring in the first parts of the game. So it was probably like in the first parts of the first level that I didn't get to. So overall, I was very interested, and it seems pretty like a solid game to going through and playing more of later down the line. I don't know what you thought, Steve.
Yeah, what you're saying is definitely it's striking a chord with me as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I can totally see why he also, yep, Greg also struggled with that. Okay, good. That means I'm not just alone in this. So, yeah, I'll say from the very beginning, Barry alluded to this earlier. The game absolutely looks amazing. One of the best looking games on the Switch for sure. I don't know if it's using that extra software that's enhancing the graphics or not, but if it's not, I don't know how they're pulling off some really strong HD graphics. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that it borderlines 4K by any means, but it is really good looking HD graphics for sure. Even the mouths, I thought they did a really good job with. A lot of times Nintendo games especially the mouths don't line up with the speech, but this one did really well. And in the cutscenes, they lined it up really well. It wasn't like really, disconnect and stuff. As far as the graphics as well, like the 2D, the 5D, kind of 2.5D is usually good, but I did get frustrated by the camera sometimes. I wish it would have swung a little bit earlier to see where I'm going. It kind of dragged a little bit, and I feel like that's a little bit what I had problems with overall, is the game kind of it dragged along, like where the camera wasn't going where it wanted to. I wasn't getting button presses like as quick as I wanted to. I wanted to jump quicker. I wanted to fall down. It was a little floaty, and because of that, I got frustrated a lot of times. And I think the game is difficult by design, but I think the controls make it ever so slightly more difficult, and that gets frustrating. If it's just the game difficulty, I can deal with that. It's something I have to overcome. Those are video games, right? But because of the controls, I'm like, I don't know if this is where it needs to be just yet. It needs to be fine-tuned. However, I do want to say, when I was talking with the PR people, they do have a day one patch that's supposed to come out to fix some of those issues. So there's a chance that, or I don't know if it's day one, but very, very early on, there's supposed to be a patch that might fix some of these issues. And if it does, awesome, because that's what I need, and hopefully make it a better experience for everybody. But But yeah, those are the general impressions. I've got some more other thoughts too, but I'll let you talk, Barry.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you said. The game is gorgeous. I didn't have as many problems with the camera, but I did have some problems with the controls, especially some of the jumping, like some ledges I felt I should have grabbed onto and I didn't. And other ones I'm like, I'm nowhere gonna make this ledge and grab, and then they did, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So there's little inconsistencies there. Um, the game itself, I'm not a big gamer when it comes to frustration. Like if it's frustration, like a precision platformer where it's like, oh, I should have made that jump, and I missed it. That's on me. Like if I have full control, great. Um, this had two elements of frustration that I absolutely hate. One is the throwing mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
the aiming. Anything like with the physics reminds me of Trine, which we had a very interesting experience with Trine several years ago, and I learned very quickly when playing that game I do not like anything like this, and that's what this throwing mechanic reminded me of. Because like, put out the fire, and I'm throwing, and like you have to hit this one little spot to finish it off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
really, come on.
And you're
Um,
juggling like three
and you're juggling.
buttons usually,
Yeah,
like and trying not to Greg's point earlier, you have to hold down the X button, select the right direction, but then you let off that, you may start moving in that direction. So you got to let
hmm
go, then hold down the L button to aim, then hit the other button to throw, and it's a lot of juggling there.
a lot of juggling, and there's also inventory. Like this, it's not like you have unlimited bottles. You have a finite amount, and you have to get more. So as you're wasting ammo, like that just adds to the frustration. So that's strike one for me, and it's for me. It's I'm not saying it for anybody else. The other thing is I when Lemmings first came out, it was a big thing, and I remember getting it on the PC. Like, oh, everyone's talking about Lemmings, and I hated it. I hated it because it was frustrating because they were just walking off cliffs and like not listening, and it just became more and more frustrating to try to get as many Lemmings to the end. And that's what this game is. You have all these, your race that you're trying to save, and they are lemmings.
Mm-hmm.
They are stupid,
Yeah.
and they will get killed and destroyed, and they're if you don't care about saving them, you get the bad ending. But if you want the good ending, you got to save them, and then you get like extra bonus levels and stuff. And I'm just like it frustrates me when I'm doing everything so great, and then the computer AI gets killed, and I have to worry about them, and like that pulls me out of the game
Yeah.
and makes me not want to continue. And that's again me. If that's something you're great at doing and you love doing and it sounds up your alley, that is perfectly fine. But those two things, those two elements were my biggest strikes against the game because everything else looks great. I had no problem with the camera, and even the grabbing thing, the inconsistency wasn't that big of a deal because there are a lot of checkpoints, which is a big plus to this game. But it did make it frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And when playing it, there were times where those frustrations, because it pulled me out, just made me say I would be rather be playing something else.
Yeah.
And I can say that if it wasn't for the review of us playing it for review, this is something where if I and I'll be buying the physical, it's no secret, but if I popped it in my Switch to play and I started seeing these, I would have popped it out a lot sooner
Mm-hmm.
and said, okay, I'm moving on because time is finite and I'd rather be playing something I'm enjoying more.
Mm.
But again, that's me, and I don't want to say like the game is bad because of that, because some other people love that. And if you grew up with Oddworld and you loved the original Oddworld on the PlayStation 1, this is a better version of it. I didn't like the original Oddworld then for a lot of those issues, so it's no surprise it carries over now. But
Yeah.
Greg, what about you? Any big gripes or besides the
Yeah, I
X
did. I
button?
didn't really see. Yeah, I didn't really see too much for like the camera, but it did remind me of a lot of like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, where he
Mm.
does like that isometric thing, and then it still kind of seems like you're in like a 3D environment, but like it's obviously it's all completely 2D. Like while you're actually like movement and whatever, just like the plane just shifts to move in different directions. But um, yeah, outside like the aiming mechanic stuff and having to like pretty much hold all the buttons down, it was for the most part pretty. I kind of enjoyed it. When I was like saw like the sneak stuff, I didn't really have to use that in the first level, but I usually am kind of don't really appreciate stealth segments. That's usually my biggest tipping point with like Breath of the Wild. Like I hated that stealth mission there, but so if there's going to be a lot of stealth elements going forward, that's probably where I'll hit levels of frustration as well, though. So that would be one concern I have, but that's also for me personally. I know there's obviously lots of people love stealth stuff. That's why Metal Gear Solid is so successful. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so I recognize that not all stuff is for me, but it does seem pretty like an interesting game for me to continue moving forward, at least maybe another level or two, and see if I still have enjoyment while playing through it. So I'm
Yeah.
still, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are definitely more stealth areas to come, Greg, and there is one in particular that is in the third world. I can't remember like what level it's on or whatever, but it is an area that two things have happened to me there. So, number one, I broke the game. So, talking about Carl earlier, I also broke Oddworld. This is maybe one of those things that's going to be fixed in the patch. So, I'm just going to trust that they will get this figured out. But I wasn't even exploring something. I was just trying to get through this level and jumped off one platform to the other and jumped apparently a little too close to the wall one time, and I got stuck in the wall, and the enemies are just like circling back and forth, and I'm unable to move, unable to pause. The game's like soft locked, and I had to restart it. And at that point, at that particular level, I had been trying to get through that section so many times that if like Barry said, if it wasn't for the review, I wouldn't have went back to it, because it was already frustrating and it glitched out and it froze the game. I didn't want to go back. Although, like the very beginning of the game, the whole first level, the first world, and everything with all the cutscenes is amazing. It pulls you in. You're drawn into this amazing world, and I want to go there. I want to experience this. But by the third world, in that particular stage where I was juggling, throwing, stealth, hopping from one thing to the other, and it wasn't grabbing like it was supposed to, and a lot of times I would miss a ledge and fall down to my death because there's enemies everywhere, and I was getting shot like crazy, and enemy airfire coming from the top, all these different things, and I was having to get through this level, and then it glitches out, and that was very frustrating. So unfortunately, yeah, that there you do get to those kind of frustration levels that I think overtake, unfortunately, the amazing cutscenes and the amazing story and all these other things that are really, really good about this game. It's not fully polished like it should be, which is weird because it's a remake and an enhanced edition. They've spent a lot of time on this game. Like, I'm surprised that those kind of things still exist. But
This
I
also
don't
came out on PS4, 5, and Xbox, I think, last year.
know. Mm-hmm.
And there were bugs then when the game launched last year on those systems. So you would think at this point those things would have been polished by now,
Yeah.
because it is a later Switch port. And I know like the physical requires a download as well because it is a bigger game, which is always unfortunate. And by all our accounts, it seems like the physical wouldn't be complete anyway because this coming up patch seems to hopefully alleviate some of these issues. But now the game itself is on the eShop is $49.99, so it's a $50 price tag. Greg, thoughts on the price? Do you recommend this at $50 for somebody to play this, or is this a wait for sale or pass entirely?
I would probably put this more as like a wait for a pretty decent sale, or even like the pass entirely. After hearing both like your guys' like commentary, I feel like sometimes we kind of like align on a number of things, and I think this is probably something that we kind of feel like more aligned on. So, if you are absolutely into like stealth games and like the action adventure kind of style, then that's easily a must buy for you. But for like me personally, I probably wouldn't pick this up at least unless it was probably at least like 50% off or so, because like if there's gonna be freezing glitches that were preventing you from moving on, and also like some of the difficulty of just like learning the games and the controls, and it's already natural higher difficulty level. I don't think that people will want to experience frustration unless that's the kind of games that you enjoy. So that's where I would stand on that.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think it's got so much potential, and I think that's the hard thing is because if it hadn't been out for a long time already, and this is a brand new game, and we found this, and we're like, oh yeah, like it's got potential if they fix the bugs. This could be a great experience because there's so much promising things in this game, like the story, the cutscenes, the graphics overall. I like the platforming. I like the idea of it's stealth, but it's not too much stealth. It's like the challenges are fun and all those things, but this is a game that's been out for a while and it's been on other systems and they still have these issues, and that's unfortunate. So I wouldn't say skip it altogether, but if they fix some of the patches or some of this stuff with patches, I'd still say wait for it to be on sale. If you can find it for, $25-$30, and you enjoy a good platforming game with an amazing story. I mean, honestly, if this is not an option, but if it were, like just to get a download of a movie of just the cutscenes, heck, watch those. They're great. They're fantastic. Like I want to watch an Oddworld movie after this. This is what I want to experience. The game is a little too frustrating for me to recommend.
I'm gonna echo both of you. I've never been an Oddworld fan, so this isn't the game that made me an Oddworld fan at all either. I do think if you are an Oddworld fan and you really enjoyed the first one, then yes, $50, it's a no-brainer because you already know what you're getting into. If you're unsure with all the other games coming out this year, and if you past games, if you haven't played them, I definitely recommend waiting for a sale. Watch some other reviews in addition to ours, look up some gameplay, see if it's your cup of tea. And of all else, like Steve said, like YouTube the cutscenes because the cutscenes are really cool. And again, like there's some games where sometimes the story is just better than the gameplay. And I think for me personally, this would fall into that because I agree the story is intriguing and the cutscenes are great. The production value is up there, but even though I'm going to be personally purchasing it to support, it's still one of those things where if you are not a hardcore collector and you're not into stealth and you're not into platforming and haven't been in the Oddworld series, I definitely recommend for a sale or a skip entirely.
Let's move on to our news stories, and tonight we're going to be mostly talking about a couple updates, but the big thing we want to jump into is the holiday season and whether you celebrate all the different holidays or you celebrate some of them or you don't celebrate any of them. One of the great things about the holiday season, especially for gamers, is lots of sales. And so Nintendo just recently put out their sales, their Black Friday sneak peek. And they have a sale that I want to make sure you guys know about because I think this is the first time they've ever done this. It's a Nintendo Switch bundle with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, have you guys hadn't seen this, right?
Never. What a great idea!
It's
Why
fantastic
didn't they do this
idea.
Previous years?
I know this game is never sold. They really should bundle this thing more often. So, surprise, surprise, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle is back again. And I think they finally put it with the new Switch, finally. Like, not the new Switch, that we've rumored a long time, but I think finally it is it actually is the modern Mark II or whatever one that has a better battery life. And they've also thrown in an individual 3-month membership to Nintendo Switch Online. So I guess that's something else they've added to the bundle. I can't remember if they had that last year or not, but yeah, if you don't have a Switch yet, you've been waiting and you haven't bought this bundle any of the last 6 years, now's your time to get it, I guess.
The Nintendo Online thing is actually there. Like when my daughter got that bundle, like it came with a 3-month individual online thing, but we didn't end up using it because she just joined. I just converted mine to the family plan. So
Okay, cool. So that's good. It converted it though. So we also have several games that are going to be $20 or save up to $20 on Mario Party Superstars, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Fire Emblem Warriors: Three Hopes, and Bravely Default 2. So those are some top-notch games that are going to be you're going to be able to save at least maybe up to $20 on those games. Also, Mario Kart Live is on sale again. I believe they did this sale last year as well, but you're going to be able to save $40 on those sets, either the Mario or the Luigi set. And you're also going to get 33% off on select games like WarioWare, Get It Together, Big Brain Academy, Brain versus Brain. And 33% off on those games and lots of other deals as well, including several deals on Lego Super Mario. So that's pretty great as well, up to 20% off of those Lego Super Mario sets, as well as several other games that are going to be on sale as well. So first of all, what do you guys think about these deals? And then we'll talk about other deals and kind of holiday recommendations. But first of all, just a quick response to these Black Friday deals from Nintendo. First you, Greg.
Well, it pretty interesting to see that they keep going through with this Mario Kart bundle, and why they're only doing it for the holidays and not just have it year round to begin with is kind of weird to begin, like, for a starting point. But it's kind of glad that they've at least updated the model so it has like the better battery life for those that are going to be new Switch owners. I'm kind of surprised that they only have like only up to $20 on those first party titles. I mean, Nintendo games don't usually go on sale, but I feel like the ones that have gone like in previous E3s, they've gone like at least like 50% off or something like ridiculous. Like, I know there's been better sales on like Nintendo exclusive games. So I know for me personally, I haven't gotten Fire Emblem Three Hopes, so that's kind of exciting to see. I'll get some sort of discount on it, so I will 100% be picking that one up for when it's on its sale period. But like some of the other ones, it's surprised that it's not more than $20, like Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's the sequel's almost out already, and like they still gonna be only charging like $40 for it. So,
It's true.
well, I guess you could always use that extra $20 to buy the DLC, which is fantastic. But
There you
um,
go.
it is great to see the Mario Kart like live stuff on sale as well, because I picked up one for my daughter last year. So she's been constantly begging to get the Luigi set, so then we can both use our Switches together. So I might be finally picking up the Luigi version of that this holiday season as well. But yeah, in terms of the other stuff, it's not like the Lego stuff is. I'm kind of done collecting and building on that from what I have, and I know that Hussein's been kind of collecting them as he goes, so that probably won't really help him out as well. So, obviously, if they had those really huge sets like the NES or something, I'd definitely take that for 20% off. But I think this is only the actual Mario Legos with that are the interactive ones.
Yeah, can't get the Bowser at 20% off, unfortunately. Although I think I need it at 70% off at the price they're trying to sell it at. But I'd still pay full price for the Hyrule Castle, though, if they didn't put that out. But Barry, what do you think of all these Black Friday deals from Nintendo?
Nintendo games just do not go on sale often. And, for most people, I tell them, if it's a Nintendo game you want, just get it. Like, don't wait. Look, Breath of the Wild is still full price and is going $20 off, or you could have just paid full price in 2017 and enjoyed the game a long time ago by now. It's That's just Nintendo. As long as the games are selling, they don't need to lower the price. And Nintendo games are often, not always, but often in demand. That's why some of the lesser games like WarioWare and Big Brain Academy are 33% off. Again, still not going the full, let's really give these guys a deal. And you could probably get Nintendo games cheaper elsewhere with other retailer deals going on. As for the Switch bundle, I mean, I understand if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But you can add. You don't need to fix. You can add.
Yeah.
You know what would be an easy pack-in that you're probably sitting on some? 1-2 switch. The game is not amazing, but it's a great showpiece. That should have been a pack-in at
Mhm.
the start.
Yep.
That should be a pack-in. Even if you said, I don't want to do a physical version, just a digital download of the game, just do it.
Yep.
That game's not selling. Most people forgot it exists. Let the kids play with it. They'll have fun Christmas eating their Switches, whatever. It's just
It's not the games.
it's not the games,
It's not the games.
you know.
They taste
And
bad.
they could do other things. There's a lot of times. Hey, you know what? If they wanted to be real insane, they could have packed in a digital version or physical of Mario 3D All Stars and put the Fire Emblem on there that you no longer can download. Hey, you want it? You missed out. You got to buy a new Switch. But
Mm.
they have this enormous catalog at this point. We're over 5 years old. We're almost 6 years into the Switch, and and it still feels like they're just afterthought. It's an afterthought,
Mhm.
and it's almost a joke.
Yeah.
And I know the Switch is selling well overall. I mean, they're still selling, but you're coming up on 6 years. You're coming up with another, system. This could be the last holiday that the Switch doesn't have a competitor from Nintendo. Now, if it's not the last holiday, I would say it's definitely the next to last. I can't see them going more without upgrading a Switch. I could be wrong, but make it something awesome.
Yeah.
Make it, just come out bang. You have the PlayStation 5, now you have the Series X to compete with. Now there's actually PlayStations on the shelves and Xboxes on the shelves, where last holiday they didn't have to worry about that. So come out swinging. Come out just swinging for the fences and throw some in there. Throw Breath of the Wild in there. The sequel's coming. You want people with Tears of the Kingdom, and maybe they've been waiting. How about Link's Awakening? Get another Zelda title in there. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is fine. Age of Calamity. They've got 4 Zelda titles you could pick from. Mario 3D All Stars, Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury, Mario Odyssey. Like this, they could do more than just Mario Kart. There's more
Yep.
to the Switch. How about Smash Brothers? How about Smash Brothers with the DLC? Go crazy.
One of the things that jumped in my mind is I wonder. I mean, it's not one of those kind of level games, but I wonder how would it do if they packed in Switch Sports? All of
Yeah.
a sudden they have a Wii. Again, could they recapture at least a part of that experience again? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, these people that somehow avoided the Switch the whole time, and they're like, wait, Nintendo put out something that's better than the Wii with this Wii Sports I have, and it comes with the next version. I'll get that.
That's a no-brainer.
Mhm.
And if they did Nintendo Sports, 1-2 Switch, and still Mario Kart 8 with the 3 years, or maybe go crazy and or not 3 years, 3 months, maybe go crazy with 6 months free. Ooh, we're going crazy here. I think you would see them go significantly more. You would see them fly off the shelves. You will see it just be the perfect holiday item. And especially if let's say you're buying a second Switch, right? You got a kid, you're buying it for the kid, or you're buying it, you just want a second one around the house, and you get those games built in. Boom, instant library for them. Instant library.
Mm-hmm.
Mario Kart 8 is an instant game, but it's not an instant library.
Yeah.
You have one game and you don't get a choice. And then that saves you. Then you don't have to spend extra money. And maybe Nintendo says, "Oh, you should spend extra money." There's still plenty of games to spend extra money on.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it was fine the first Christmas. It was stretching it thin the second Christmas, and at this point, it's just a joke. It's literally just a joke.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, is it the top selling Switch game, or is it's like top 5 for sure? Top selling Switch game.
I think it is because of these bundles.
Yeah. Well,
it's just like Wii
and I
Sports
wonder,
was.
like, have they reached the saturation point? It was like, is this at a 1-to-1 thing already? Like stop it. Like, pick a different game.
Or pick additional games with it. You can
Yeah.
still keep Mario Kart 8 there.
It's true. If they have more stock they want to get rid of, just throw something else in there with it.
Hey, you know what could have been even crazier? If they really didn't want to do much. Like they're like, we want to do bare bones. How about throw in the Mario Kart booster pack? Make it so that it comes digitally with the booster pack so that they get more games. Like that would be like bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I guess that's they're leaning into the fact that hey, there's more booster packs coming, so we got to get more of the game out there, and
Well, yeah, I mean, Merry Mountain's going to be right around the corner like
Oh
next
yeah.
month.
it's true. It's true. Well, let's broaden our horizons as well because Nintendo doesn't put a whole lot of their games on sale. There's going to be a ton of eShop deals. There's always a ton of eShop deals, but there's going to be a ton coming up this holiday season for sure. So make sure you do stay tuned to Nintendo's page, but also just your eShop on the Switch if you are into downloading digital versions of games at all. Make sure you check out that because they're going to have a ton of sales on eShop as they always do. But what other sales have you guys heard that people should be aware of, or things that you're anticipating, maybe based on previous years that you're like, oh yeah, this is usually what we see, and so people out there that are maybe looking for those really good deals during this season, what do you know, or what do you think is going to be popping up over the next couple weeks and months? Greg, you got anything?
Yeah, I saw that Nintendo Everything had like a post that both Amazon and Target have their buy two games get one free, and so that applies to Xbox and the PlayStation games as well. So if you're a multi-console owner like Barry, then that's a good place to grab 3 games for the price of 2. I looked at the Switch only ones for myself, and it was a lot of stuff that I either already had or wasn't really interested in. So unfortunately, I won't really be taking any part in that.
Hmm.
But I don't know if Barry had heard of any additional deals or whatever.
I got an email today from Best Buy talking about their Black Friday deals, and they didn't have a buy two get one, but they have select games are on sale right now, and select gaming accessories, but nothing like super crazy.
Hmm.
But I'm sure as as it gets closer, they'll probably announce more concrete stuff. And it wouldn't surprise me if Amazon does I don't know. I'm assuming they still do the lightning deals they used to
Hmm.
do. They usually did gaming lightning deals where here's this game for like $40. Normally it's like $5. Like quickly get it, so you can get some really insane stuff that way. But I'm fairly certain every retailer is going to have some kind of deal. And now if they stack, like if those games are $20 off, those Nintendo games, and then they stack with the Amazon buy or the Target buy two get one free, that's your best bet. But I
Hmm.
would be quick about it because I'm assuming, especially the higher profile titles, are going to sell out faster.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, Black Friday deals, of course, Cyber Monday deals will happen and everything as well. So make sure you stay tuned to our Twitter, but also on Discord, we have a holiday deals channel on there as well. It will be kind of throwing things in there, and everybody in there will be tossing their thoughts and what they find. So if you're all about saving money this holiday season on some games, there's maybe some games that you've had your eye on, but you don't want to pay full price. And make sure you stay tuned to our Twitter, but also our Discord, because that'd be a great place. And there's a lot of times where you're like, hey, we'll find the deal, and it's nothing that people have advertised. People will throw that in there, and then other people can find it as well. So just thinking about the holiday season as well, maybe there's some people that are listening or watching, and they've got maybe some money to burn a little bit, but they're like, I've got the game. I think I've got the games that I want, but maybe there's something else that I could get, or maybe they're looking at accessories, things like that. So from your guys' opinion, what should be the things that people should look out for, either for themselves or for maybe that gamer and their family, that they're going to be getting some gifts for? What are some things that people should look out for to add to their Switch that maybe all they have, let's say, is their Switch and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because they bought that bundle last year or maybe 3 years ago. What else should they be looking at and adding into this? Maybe it's a game that you guys really enjoyed this year, or an accessory that they should definitely pick up. Greg, you got any ideas?
Well, I mean, ones that released this year, probably not quite as many, but obviously over the previous years, I mean, you would look for like Mario Odyssey, or try to see if you can get that the 3D All Stars if you're able to get your hands on it anywhere. Those would obviously make great titles to add, or like new Super Mario Brothers, EU Deluxe, and other like Mario games such as that. And then there's obviously Breath of the Wild that we've already been talking about. I mean, this year has some pretty good games that I've heard you guys both been playing, like the Sparks of Hope, and also what was it, like Xenoblade 3 came out this year. I'm sure Barry heavily recommends that one. I still need to get back to it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely tons of great games out there, and no shortage of ones to find. And unfortunately, some of those aren't really the ones that really go on sale, like the ones that we've already covered. It's pretty much those really old ones. And then I think the Fire Emblem Three Hopes is like one of the more current ones that actually came out that will be on sale this year. But I'm actually kind of surprised that Battle League wasn't on Mario Strikers Battle League wasn't included on that list.
It's true, and even Nintendo forgot about that game.
How quickly?
Yeah, Barry, what's your recommendations? People pick up this holiday.
I mean, if they just have the Switch and the Mario Kart 8, first thing I would recommend is a Pro Controller, especially if you're playing docked. Pro Controller is just so comfortable. It's got like 80 hours or something stupid of life. Just yeah, get a Pro Controller, and I also recommend a charging cradle, for it. That the charging cradle usually does the Switch Pro Controller as well as the Joy Cons. I use those all the time. Lifesaver. So absolutely, that's one thing I would recommend. If you have multiple kids or family members, multiple Pro Controllers or multiple Joy Cons just for use, which I'm assuming you're gonna have, even if you just have Mario Kart 8, because if you have a family, they're probably gonna say want to play multiplayer. But I just want to throw that out there. As for games, you can't go wrong. There's so many great games on the Switch.
Yeah.
This year has been unbelievably amazing in terms of releases. But if you only had Mario Kart 8, like Greg said, you have 5+ years of stellar first-party titles. Like I was mentioning just earlier, multiple Zeldas, multiple Marios. You've got Metroid Dread. You've got multiple Fire Emblems. You've got all the Xenoblades minus X. You've got just so many fantastic games. Switch Sports, if your family enjoyed Wii Sports, just you can't go wrong. You honestly can't go wrong. I also would recommend the NSO if you enjoy classic games, or the expansion pack if you enjoy even more classic games, and you can get away with playing those and not buying new games. But yeah, I would say those, and I would also look at the indie scene. There's a lot of great indie scene. There's a lot of fantastic third-party releases, and I'd be remiss if I didn't point everybody to PremiumEditionGames.com, because make the best stocking stuffers get some Premium Edition games.
There you go.
I gotta.
There you go. Of course. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Only thing that I would add would be think about an SD card. Like those of us we were talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Even Barry, who's not a digital gamer at all, has already filled up his SD card. So like we hit get it as big of an SD card as you can afford. That's and SD cards, those micro SD cards go on sale a lot of times around holiday season. So definitely make sure that you stay tuned to usually Amazon, Best Buy have some amazing deals on those cards. So that's a great time to get one if you've been filling up yours recently, or your onboard storage. If you're going to download any games at all, even when it comes to like DLC and stuff like that, you're going to need to get some space for screenshots and videos and stuff like that. That you're just going to fill up your space on your Switch really quick. And then I'd say as well, there's a bunch of good cases out there. So if you travel with your Switch, one of the I got the Breath of the Wild special edition. I think all of us got that when it first came out. I don't use that anymore. I got one of those thin ones that it's like a sleeve. It slides in. It comes with a small case of I think you can put 4 games in there and put it in a little pocket. And that's the one I use most of the time because it's incredibly thin, slides right in my backpack. And I don't have to worry about it. It's nice and cushiony, but it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in my bag. So there's a lot of cases out there that I'd recommend too. So if you got someone in your life, or you're someone that takes your Switch on the go a lot of times, get them a good case as well. Any final thoughts about games for the holiday season?
I mean, just to kind of expand on what you were literally just talking about, if you find yourself like your hands are a little bit bigger, or possibly uncomfortable, then also look into one of the grips if you play in handheld mode, because I certainly can't look back after I got my Skull Candy grip with my hard case. So like that was amazing to have like a nice style grip that can really hold the system and fits better into my hands.
Nice.
I like the Split Pad Pro from Hori.
I still need
They
to get
launched
one of
it.
those.
It's so great. Then they have the turbo button as well, which is awesome. And they got like back triggers that you can program to whatever you want. Yeah, those are very comfortable. And like we got them back when it was just Demon X Machina, but now there's ones for like Pac-Man, Mega Man, Pokemon. I think there's like a bunch of different ones. But yeah, those are great.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, let's move on to our next story. And this is really not exactly a story per se, but there's just some things have been going on. So we normally will report on the NPD sales on our podcast. Every so many episodes, we'll give you the updates on recent sales for Nintendo and the Switch and the games and where they stand and everything. And for a really solid run, every time we'd go, well, Switch is at the top again. Switch is at the top again. Hey, go figure. Switch is number one. Switch is number one. Well, the last couple months has not really been the case. We found out from a couple different sources, but one of them saying that, Switch is number 2 in sales for, I think, both September and October, I believe, or was it August and September, one or the other. I think it was the last. If I may be mistaken, but I think it's the last 2 months that Switch has not been number 1. And I think even before that, there was maybe some discrepancy around it was number 1 in sales, but not overall income, and that's mostly because PlayStation is cost more. But yeah, so PS5 has been the higher seller within the United States, at least in terms of sales. I know, Greg, you got some more information around what's going on in Japan, and it's not exactly pretty. So give us a quick update on what's going on in that part of the world, and then we'll kind of get into some discussion around it all.
Yeah, so if anyone follows the Kit and Krista podcast, their last episode, last Thursday, what was that, the 3rd, they were talking about the decline in the Japanese sales. So I think Steve has like the graph up there, and pretty much I think all the consoles like in Japan region are basically have all like suffered tremendously. So pretty much it's like the sales are getting to like near like nothing. Like that includes both like the Switch and also like the PS5, and usually the Xbox hasn't done exceedingly well in Japan to begin with. So it's kind of a surprise to see that the Japanese gaming market is on a significant decline, and I don't know if that's because they're playing more mobile games or if they're more just not really interested as much in like actual gaming hardware anymore. So it's kind of hard to know until Nintendo announces their next system and to see if it is off to like a huge start like it normally is for each release, or if it's just kind of a trend over this year where maybe it's finally people have gotten the systems and stuff that they wanted. And I know like the Sony had a hike actually due to a price increase on their system, so that at least wasn't in the US. Everywhere else it took like a increase. So I don't know if that has any factor into it as well, but it's possible that the gaming scene is kind of on somewhat of a decline, at least for this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like, especially this fall, it's kind of been down. September went up a little bit, but it has been, I think, this overall decline the last few months. Barry, what do you think about this? Is there much to read into this, or is this just how the industry goes? It goes up and down sometimes, and we shouldn't really be thinking much about that.
The industry is much like the stock market. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. I mean, any business is going to have that. And as I always say, like if it starts going down, don't panic. Like it will go back up. And we've seen historically that consoles will sell when big games are released. So if you look at, September to October, there were some big titles, but not huge system sellers. I mean, Splatoon 3 is probably why September went up for the Switch, especially in Japan, because Splatoon is very big. But October, had Mario and Rabbids and had Bayonetta 3, two series that are not huge in Japan for the Switch. And the same with PlayStation. There wasn't anything big, and the same with Xbox. At least big in the sense of system sellers. If you were a console gamer, you already have the systems, you're probably going to play these games, but they're not going to move as many systems. Now, look at this month, right? November, you've got God of War tomorrow is going to help move PlayStation units. You've got Sonic Frontiers, which might help move some units across the board. But then you got Pokemon in a week. Pokemon is going to move units. It's going to sell systems. The Switch OLED Pokemon Edition also just came out this past weekend, a couple days ago, 2 days ago. And that's in November. So that is going to help sales go up as well. Even if it's just people buying it for the collector's purpose, even if they already have Switches. Nintendo knows what they're doing with that. So you're going to see these trends go up and down. And overall, the market is down. Why is the market down? Well, multiple reasons I would speculate. One, COVID took a hit on everything. Two, supply chains are backed up, so not every store is stocked with systems. Three, with inflation going up, food is costing more due to the supply chain. People that have less expendable income, so they're not buying that stuff. So proximity to Black Friday, a lot of people are holding off for a Black Friday deal to see what's available if they're not going to play the game right away. Proximity to the holidays. Well, I'm not going to buy this because I might be getting it for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. Or family is going to be purchasing it just for those reasons, to give gifts and waiting for Black Friday. Like, there's a lot of different elements at play. And then you're going to see the same thing in January, February, in March, where it's going to come down a bit because after the holidays, people don't spend a lot. They kind of recoup what they spent. This is the trend is there. Is it lower? Like, it always goes up and down. Is it lower than usual? Yes. Another factor is a lot of people have systems. A lot of people have PS4s. A lot of people have Switches. And if you look at a PS5, there's very, very limited exclusives. Sony has been doing a lot of their games on both platforms. Even God of War coming out tomorrow. I heard that your PS4 Pro will run like an airplane jet playing that game, but you can still play it. You don't need a PS5. So you could either spend, $500 or whatever for PlayStation 5 plus the game, so $570 plus tax, or you could just spend 70 or 60, whatever it is, plus tax. And for most people, if they don't already have a PS5, that might not be the game. They'll be like, I'll do the 60 plus tax and at least enjoy it. That's a big deal. Switch over 100 million, well over 100, over 111, 113 million, whatever it was last. That's a lot of people with Switches. So the majority of people that wanted those Switches already have Switches. So it's about getting new audiences that don't already have a Switch, and that's when it becomes harder to do. So I wouldn't be too concerning. Now, I did hear the Japanese market is hurting overall, and Japanese companies, I know Square Enix came out and said we need to appeal to more Western developers because they can't rely solely on the Japanese market anymore. That is a telling. Now, is that because of places like Steam? Is it because there's so many games out there? There's like right now, God of War comes out, Sonic Frontiers come out tomorrow. I'm still playing Harvestella. There's not enough time to play the games I want, and I want to give them all time. And that's me. And other people are having those very similar issues if you like a lot of games. So with so many games out, it's impossible to play them all. So games are going to be pushed back. Their sales are going to go down. Well, why isn't it as good? Well, I can't play it right now. I'm going to wait for Christmas, or I'm going to wait till I'm able to play it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be too concerned, but it is alarming nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, and the question goes now, and I've seen a lot of people online that, not a lot, but a few people that are, thinking, okay, has Nintendo waited too long to release the next Switch? Did they miss that thing? So people, when they analyze, trends and all that different stuff, they say it's better to make change before you hit that peak. And so, did they wait too long? Has Nintendo already peaked with the Switch, and they're now on the down cycle, and they waited too long to release that new one to give it more energy to take it to the next level? Or hey, you know what? It's gonna be okay. When they put out the next Switch, it's got the next Zelda, it's got the next Mario, it's got the next Smash Brothers, it's got the next Mario Kart, whatever it is, and it'd naturally do better. That didn't work for the Wii U. Now, granted, the Wii U is a worse system, but it didn't work for that. So I don't know. Like, it's not just assuming that it's going to do well just because you put Mario and Zelda on there and Pokemon. So, Greg, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're trying to kind of have had longer cycles, at least since Wii, because like Wii like really had like a good was like 6 years before like the Wii U even like came out, so that was even like really pushing it, and like the Wii was, you could really tell it was struggling like before, like even before, right before Skyward Sword, it was like still like vastly struggling to
Well, still
keep
SD
like,
when the world was way, way, way past switching to HD.
yeah. So I mean, now we're like at the period of 4K, so it's like how much longer can they really go, like just continuing not embracing that to begin with? But yeah, I mean, the Wii U kind of unfortunately suffered because they had the huge success of the previous system, and now the one that succeeded it had major success with the Switch. That's even surpassed pretty much all the other Nintendo consoles outside the DS. So like it's obviously exceeded expectations and met tons of sales targets and everything, and it was largely popular. But it, like even what I was kind of saying earlier, like with the holiday deals, like it still seems like it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like a downward like trend right now, and it's like probably could use the successor to kind of get more interest, like just like a Nintendo. And if it's backwards compatible with Switch games, and that's easily going to be a no-brainer right there. So I don't know if we'll see any sort of announcement like earlier next year, or if, like Barry was saying, like if it's really going to be until next holiday, we're still in this same situation that we are right now. So I really hope not, because I just, based on the games that have released, that not as, I mean, we haven't like got a new Mario game pretty much since launch. I mean, the last Mario game really was like Mario Maker 2 before Sparks of Hope. So I mean, that
How's the
was,
theory?
Yeah, half a new game.
Half a new
Not
game.
even that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and obviously like New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. I mean, but that was like a port. So I mean, really, it's been like Mario Maker 2 and Odyssey were like the main games. We didn't even get like a new Super Mario Brothers Switch or anything like that. So I don't know. It just seems like it's on a downward trend, and I think they kind of need to get moving on announcing its successor, or like get the Pro model out there.
Yeah. Yep.
To touch on what you were talking about, Steve, have they waited too long? They might have. In fact, I think they were planning on doing a Switch 2 or Pro prior to this. I think COVID and the supply chains and the chip shortage changed their plans. I honestly do. And I think they've
Yeah.
been hoarding those chips ready for a launch. Like I said, when
Now those
we had,
chips are 2 years old. Yeah.
that's
It doesn't sound
Nintendo.
Nintendo releasing older systems. Like,
It's true.
We were talking about with Tears of the Kingdom a couple episodes ago when there was the Nintendo Direct. It wouldn't surprise me if they launched a new system with Tears of the Kingdom, and I think that is the best shot for them to do it, personally. Now, do I think whatever Switch 2 this is going to be, in terms of sales wise, better than the Switch? And the answer is no. I do not. I think historically we've seen most follow-ups less. It kind of goes up and down. There are outliers. The PlayStation 2 was better than the PlayStation, but it also had the DVD thing. PlayStation 4 was better than the PS3 because, PS3 went down. Again, it had that dip.
Yeah.
PS5 is doing very well right now, which is a lot of it's hype, but at the same time, I don't know if you saw this, they announced the PSVR 2 is when it's coming out next year, and they announced the price at $550. And I've seen a lot of people have that enthusiasm go, oh no, not as on top of a PlayStation. Oh, like you've seen that, and even I'm like, maybe I'm gonna hold off. Like that you're seeing that more and more. So price is definitely an issue.
Sure.
Nintendo historically, their systems have sold worse. From the NES to the GameCube, it's a downward trend. The Wii was an outlier up, and of course the Wii U was even worse than the 64. And then of course the Switch is high. If you look at handhelds, again it's downward, GB, GBC, GBA until the DS, which was all the way up there, and then 3DS, while doing very well, it was never reaching the DS's heights. It just wasn't. So I personally do not see the Switch 2 or whatever the next one is reaching what the Switch does. But with it being backwards compatible, I see it having a long, healthy life. But they need to bring stuff to the table.
Yeah.
More than 4K.
Right.
4K is the bare minimum of bringing
yeah.
anything to the table.
Absolutely.
And it has to be backwards compatible. So I do think they waited a little too long, and I do think Real World had that effect. However, I do not think they're down and out. I do think that if they capitalize on Tears of the Kingdom and they capitalize on a new Pokemon, if you look at the 3DS, when that came out and that was struggling, the 3DS was struggling so badly they cut the price. After the 3DS came out, they were still supporting the DS with Pokemon. Pokemon Conquest and Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 came out on the DS while the 3DS was floundering. And it's like, why not put them on both? I'm not saying don't put them on the DS, but put them on the 3DS as well. Give them a Pokemon game. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see the same thing Sony's doing, right? The PlayStation 5 came out, and Microsoft as well. The Xbox One Series X came out. They're still putting games in the Xbox One. They're still putting games in the PlayStation 4. They said they were going to do that for a year. That was 2 years ago. They're still doing that. So I think you're going to see Nintendo put out a Switch 2, and those system sellers are most likely going to still be on the Switch. A bit worse version on the Switch. And maybe they'll do the same thing PlayStation does with like an upgrade. Like if you buy the Switch cart and put it in your Switch 2, it will download the Switch 2 version, or I don't know. Probably not. This is Nintendo.
Nintendo's so well known for copying what Microsoft and Sony are doing. Jared in the chat is saying that it says, take this with a grain of salt, but my local Nintendo rep said that from what he heard, that Tears of the Kingdom is struggling a bit to run on the Switch at the moment, and they're pushing for a new iteration while having it backwards compatibility. That honestly, Jared, that doesn't surprise me at all. I think if they're really going to push this game to the limit, and they should, then yeah, I bet it's struggling to perform on the Switch. I mean, that's kind of what happened with the last couple Zelda games, right? Like that's why they waited. I mean, of course they were on that edge, but it pushed. I heard that those games did push.
Breath of the Wild might have pushed, but they didn't delay it for that. They delayed it for the Switch.
Not that they delayed it for that reason.
Ran perfectly on the GameCube because the Wii was just a GameCube pretty much, and it ran great on both of those.
That's a good point. Maybe I'm thinking of Breath of the Wild, and not that was the reason, but they definitely wanted on the better hardware for sure because it was going to be a better experience. And so yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And he's saying if true, we get a special edition Switch, maybe even Joy-Cons with it as well. And yeah, that'd be to me, that'd be a no-brainer. Whether Nintendo does it or not is a different story. It'd probably be a special edition thing at Nintendo New York only.
God,
the first 5 people.
That's right. All right. Speaking of New York, like that transition, we had an event. Not we didn't put it on an event, but we have been talking about an event, Play NYC. It's happened the last several years, and that happened this last weekend. We gave away tickets, and so again, congratulations to those winners. So we had people going there. It was a great event, I've heard, but and then we also had some other things going on in New York as well, right in Barry's backyard. So Barry, tell us about Play NYC and all the other stuff, the cool stuff that happened in New York this last weekend.
Yeah, so this weekend in Rome, New York, there was the Extra Life charity event where a bunch of different podcasters went up to Rome, New York to stream and play for charity. But before going up to Rome, they stopped in Manhattan and decided to go visit the Nintendo New York store. So which is really cool. So I'm like, all right, you're in my backyard. So I was the Nintendo Dads, all four of the Nintendo Dads podcasts I've been on, great guys. Nintendo Pals, another one that you're good friends, and I've been lucky enough to be on, as well as Sean Capri with Carpool Gaming. I was over there and I was on one of his shows as well. So I'm like, all right, you guys are so close. I'm gonna go. And there was a bunch of their community members came out who lived in New York that came out to see and hang out. And it was just a really fun event. It was a 2 hour event. The weather was beautiful. It was like 74 degrees, perfect. We were just hanging outside in Manhattan, right outside of New York, Nintendo New York. And first time I've actually been to Nintendo New York. In Probably since 2019.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the Game Boy that was damaged in the Gulf War is no longer there. It went back to Redmond.
Yeah.
I asked about
I
that.
heard
They
that
said,
there's
yeah,
rumors of maybe putting together a little museum out there. I don't know if it's happening, but that's the
uh,
rumors I heard.
that would explain why I was no longer there in Nintendo. They had an Amazon. They had a Amiibo display, but it was just a ton of fun. Beautiful weather right outside, Rockefeller Center, and it was just great to hang out with everybody and see them all. And they went up to Rome after that. I took my wife and I. We were there. We took the Nintendo pals through Times Square. They'd never been, so I love seeing people's reactions to Times Square when they've never actually physically been there, because it is a sight. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is its own like thing. And like they had the police horses were there outside the police station. They were like, there's horses. The police have horses in Manhattan. Like, yeah, they were like, there's a church down that street. Like, yeah, there's people who live in the city. Like, there are other things besides skyscrapers. Like, New York is a living city. It was wonderful. I love that reaction. But we had to get them to Penn Station, which is where we were going anyway. So it was great to give them a little extra tour and spend a little extra time with them. And they all went to Rome. They did a lot of money, raised a lot of money for children's charities. So congratulations to all of them. That is fantastic, and they all made it home safely. So it was great to see everybody, and it was what a wonderful event, and hopefully it's the first of many. But then the following day, because they always like, "Are you going to Rome?" I'm like, "No, I can't," because Play NYC is the following day, which happened. It was in Chelsea. This was the first time in Chelsea. It was a new event or venue, and it was a smaller venue this year. I believe they're looking into going back to the Metropolitan Pavilion, which is where they were in 2019, because that was a big open area. That was my favorite venue. But they wanted to do something a little smaller this year because of still getting back from COVID, and they were at capacity. They had no more room for booths. They had a really cool section. They had one section for card games and board games, letting people try these brand new games and purchase them. They had a VR section with created VR experiences just for Play NYC, as well as brand new games coming out. And then they had a bunch of actual, the standard video games across, Nintendo's, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and mobile. All different titles. There were the ones that stood out. Like, was a game called Shoulders of Giants, which is like a 3D like shooter with a single player and multiplayer that was done by Dodo Peak, the developers of Dodo
Oh,
Peak, and they recognized me, and they were like, "Oh man, we did an industry talk with you, so it was great to see you," and they recognized I wore the Nintendo Fuse shirt, so that was awesome, just to hang out with them like in person and have a chat with them. There was some other ones. There was like a game called Ritual Night, which was like a Among Us kind of game, but
hmm.
like monsters in a mansion, which was just really cool. The Romance Vania was there, which was a Kickstarter I backed. That's getting a physical. It's a Castlevania, it's like Symphony of the Night style game, but with like romance visual novel style.
Hmm.
Uh, the developers behind Hyper Light Drifter, Solar Ash, and Hyper Light Breaker were there. So it was really cool to get to talk to them and see some more of like Solar Ash looks just amazing. So it was great to see that running and getting to try it, as well as a bunch of other smaller a lot of booths that were actually divided by two people, like two people sharing a booth, just like a solo developer, like here's the game I'm working on, and it was just really cool to give the game a test and talk to them, and that's my favorite part of the event is you get to play someone's vision and someone's dream, and then you get to talk and say like, oh, I like this or I don't like this, and they're constantly writing down, they're constantly taking notes. It was a smaller event, and because of that, this year I was able to see everything much quicker, which meant I didn't stay for the whole thing because there was an industry party afterwards. I did not stay for the industry party because it was, after did like 3 hours of a 6 hour event, and I was like, I've seen everything. Do I want to spend an extra 3 hours here? I got to meet some people who won contest tickets. I got to hang out with some old friends that I met previously at Play NYC, previous contest winners who are now in the media. And then, of course, hanging out with Dan Butchko was always a pleasure to see him in person and hang out. What a wonderful event, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next year with 2023 show. But if you live in the area or you can get to it, it's absolutely worth going to, especially if you love indie games and seeing people's passion projects.
Cool. Yeah, it was. I told Barry this already, but it was really funny for one of the Nintendo dads and I have been friends for a long time now, and it was really funny to see them two in a picture together, like my worlds colliding. And I've known Barry longer than I've known Marty, and I've known Barry longer than Marty's known Barry, and yet they met together before I have ever met Barry in person. So.
He did tell me that you sent him a message asking for him to buy you something from Nintendo New York.
I did, because he posted that he was there. I was like, hey, if you happen to give me something, I won't turn it down. But I need to tell him. I was like, hey, I donated to your charity stream. Where's my gift from Nintendo New York?
They were buying a lot of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
poor Andros from Nintendo Dads came out with multiple bags worth of stuff. There's actually Nintendo Dads did do a video. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I could link it. They did a little video from the event, walking around and.
Oh, I didn't. I watched their 400th episode, but I didn't. Yeah. I didn't see that.
Yeah, they did on their YouTube. It's on their YouTube. They did a video, just walking around. And we were all just waiting for the Nintendo dads to get out. They come out of Nintendo New York. We're all like clapping for them. We're like, finally, we can get the show on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a blast. Like what an event just to hang out. Like it's just like it definitely says you guys got to get out here so we can do a NintendoFuse gathering at Nintendo New York.
It was kind of one of those things that all of a sudden I saw everybody, because I knew they were going, and I think I knew one other group was going, and then to see everybody together, I was like, oh man, we should really think about planning something all together at some point. So
it was an experience.
Maybe. So we'll see. Jared, you're so kind. He said he'll pick me up something next time he's there.
Yeah, Jared's always at Nintendo New York. He goes to Nintendo New York all the time.
Jared's he gets stuff, like he pulls some really cool Nintendo memorabilia and some different stuff all the time. Like every time he posts stuff all the time online, I'm like, that's really cool. I don't know where you found that, but that is really awesome. So he's always finding some really cool stuff. So let's move on to some headlines, some quick stories we want to make sure that you know in the Nintendo world, and Greg's going to kick us off.
All right, so Splatoon 3 is going to be having another Splatfest, and this one's actually going to be Pokemon themed. So for this Splatfest, you can choose to start with like the grass type. I probably going to be butchering these names just like Steve likes to butcher names. The Sprigarito, the fire type Fuecoco, or the water type Quaxley. So represent your votes in Splatoon 3 and may the best starter win, and look forward to the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming up next week.
And we've talked quite a bit already in this podcast about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Steve and I both love the game, and Ubisoft is giving us more content with the Season Pass. They finally announced what they will be. So DLC 1 which is coming in early 2023, is going to be called the Tower of Doom. Will face your doom in a new combat game mode, and in the game, the fortune teller of Doom will send you into challenging battles. So this will probably be just like kind of what they did at the end of the first game, where there was just some extra challenging battles. DLC 2 is going to be a brand new little scenario where heroes will confront the mysterious foe, and the mysterious foe uh, resembles, I'm not going to say spoils here, I don't want to spoil it, but it resembles a statue that you see towards the end of the game. So if you play the game, you might recognize this new character they showed off. And then DLC 3 is going to be a brand new, full, separate scenario, much like the Donkey Kong scenario. That's going to include Rayman, Rabbid Peach, and Rabbid Mario together. And I don't know how long it's going to be, but if the Donkey Kong DLC was any indication, this is going to be a good, meaty chunk of content.
Nice. Well, also, Nintendo just announced today that we're going to have another Indie World Showcase coming up on November 9th. So as we're recording this on November 7th, it's just a couple days away on November 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific time for roughly 25 minutes of information on upcoming indie games headed to the Nintendo Switch. And you can watch that on their YouTube channel. And of course, we'll be discussing it in our Discord as well.
And I've already talked about the Splatoon 3 going Pokemon, but we actually do have more information coming from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. There's going to be a new trailer that they will be releasing tomorrow. So if you want to see one last trailer before the game comes out, be sure to stay tuned to the official Pokemon YouTube channel.
Nice. Greg, any thoughts about any of the other stories before we move on to what's coming up?
Not really too much to comment, at least this time around. Like the Splatoon 3 Splatfest probably won't be jumping into there by then, or jumping into that game by then, to really participate in that. I am excited for the new Pokemon game, so I'm probably going to avoid the trailer to avoid spoilers. So probably that won't fit there either. I did get like the gold bundle for the original Mario and Rabbids for like that DLC content, so I don't know if I'll wait to see if they do a bundle for this or
Yeah, they did
whatnot.
already. It's physical
Oh,
out.
Yep.
Yeah, so then I'll probably wait to see if how much I like the game after I start playing it, and by any evidence by YouTube really liking it, I probably will as well. So it might look into buying that DLC. And then it's always great to see another indie content or whatever. I'm always look forward to seeing those, and we already got a discussion topic for our next podcast.
Yep. How about you, Barry?
Yeah, so of course, Indie World, I'm going to look forward to watching, and I'm always excited to see new indie titles. And like Greg said, we'll be covering it next podcast, I'm sure. Mario and Rabbids, I did get the gold physical, so I've already redeemed my code for the gold pass. So I will get the DLC, whether I play each of them, early, mid, and fall. 2023, whether I play them individually or whether I wait till they're all done, depends on 2023 and what life hands me and how many games there are out that I want to play. But if I could fit it in, some little gaps, I might do that. Splatoon 3, I haven't, I have, but I haven't played, so I'm not going to touch the Splatfest. But good luck if you do enter. And like Greg, I'm already sold on Scarlet and Violet. Super looking forward to it. I don't need to see another trailer. I'm already. It's done for me. I'm getting it.
Yeah. I'm with you guys with Splatoon 3. I'm that's cool, but I don't actually even have the game. Mario and Rabbids, that DLC is gonna be great. I was really excited to see that the review code that I got from Ubisoft does include all the DLC as well, so I'll be able to cover that as well when that comes out. And really excited to especially play the Rayman stuff. Of course, we got to wait a whole year for that, but it was really cool to talk with the associate producer, Quentin Corrigi, which we have a interview with him on our YouTube channel with me and him, and just seeing him light up when I asked him about Rayman was really cool, because that's part of his own gaming history. He loved Rayman, and so being able to work on that and bring him back into the Rabbids world and all that stuff, he was really excited about it. Couldn't go into any detail, of course, about the DLC, because they were still wrapping up this game, but they're really, really excited about that, and that's awesome when you can see the people that are working on the game are that excited. That tells you it's going to be a great experience. And then always excited to see Indie World stuff. I think one of the coolest things that Nintendo's done is lean into indies, and there's always going to be some crazy stuff that we're gonna see that, like, that's awesome. I never thought about that being a game. I got to check that out. And there's other games that I'm like, that's awesome, but I'm not into it, but that's really cool still. And then there's probably gonna be some other stuff that I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I don't care. So indie worlds are always great. And Pokemon, I'm excited about that game, but my excitement has dropped recently.
Why?
I think because other games that I got into that really Mario and Rabbids, but other games that like took my attention away from Pokemon. So I
but
need
you're
to
done with Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying I'm not excited. I'm just like, I had it for a while. It was like, oh, the thing I'm looking forward to, and then all of a sudden, like, a couple other games snuck in and took my attention away from it, and so I wasn't like, oh, Pokemon for the last couple months. And so that's all I'm saying. So
I will say
So
one
should we
thing
do?
about I was gonna say with the Rayman DLC. The one thing I'm really upset about is that you're paired, like the DK had you with DK and Cranky with a Rabid Cranky with Rabid Peach only, and this has Rabid Peach and Rabid Mario only, but no Mario and Rayman together. Like, I wanted to see real Mario and Rayman together for the first time, but we don't get that for some weird reason.
maybe. I mean, it's also a year away, so who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know the last like indies thing wasn't like that one the super heavy on like the farming thing. So do we want to like pick a
No, that was
genre
Nintendo
that?
Direct.
Oh, that was a Nintendo
That's a
Direct.
That
full-on
was Nintendo
direct.
Direct.
Was like the last indie one didn't wasn't there like a something for that too? Like maybe it wasn't the farming, but wasn't it like a different like kind of genre that was kind of overrepresented like quite a lot?
RPGs, I think, maybe just in general, maybe.
The
No, that was also
RPGs
that
can
one.
never be overrepresented.
Too many
Possible.
swords. Too many swords.
No, there's no such thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't
yeah,
remember, but I know what you're talking about, Greg, but I can't remember the details.
yeah. It was the Nintendo Direct. Unfortunately, I thought of with the farming thing, but I just thought it'd be fun if we had like a prediction on which genres can get overrepresented in the Indie Direct.
See,
Could
and that's
be.
funny because so many people are like, oh, Harvestella are farming, and honestly, it's such a minor part. Like, it's like, don't sleep on that game. That game is really good,
Hmm.
like, really good. Like, exceeded all my expectations.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I don't know. They did talk more about the farming, but like but also other playthroughs and stuff I've seen, and I clearly it's not the key component, but it did kind of seem like that from that footage that
Yeah,
first
they
time.
made it seem like that, but it's just like you wake up in the morning and you do tend to your stuff really really quickly. That's your big money maker. But quests give you a crap ton of money. You'll spend more time questing and doing side stuff for people and dungeons and fighting. And there's like a whole bunch of different class systems. And the more you fight with the job, you get points to spend how you want to upgrade like a skill tree. Each job gets its own skill tree. You have 3 jobs equipped at a time, so you could swap between them. And there's like it seems like there's 12 jobs in the game. Like, it's very detailed. It definitely give it a try. The demo is one of those that carries over too.
That's cool. Jakester says that he remembers one indie showcase that the theme was post-apocalyptic games.
Yeah, I remember that
Maybe
one.
that's the one you're thinking of, Greg. I don't know.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah,
Could be
that might have been the last one, which was whatever, like August or something. It was.
something like that, I think. Yeah, because it's really all we got in the summer. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's we're in just a second. We're going to look at the games that are going to be coming up over the next couple weeks. But before we do that, if you have not subscribed to us on Twitter, we just want to remind you to do that. You can find us over there at NintendoFuse on Twitter. And if you've not joined our Discord, we would love to have you over there on our Discord. The link is on the screen, but also in the show notes and the YouTube description. Just click over there and join the conversation. You can talk about all the stuff we talked about tonight on the podcast, but also so much more. But let's turn our attention to what's coming up over the next couple weeks. Our next live recording is going to be on November 21st, 2022. But until then, we've got a few games that are coming out. Some of the notable ones are coming out tomorrow. Sonic Frontiers coming out on November 8th. Also Oddworld Soulstorm, which we talked about earlier, also on November 8th. Resident Evil 2 Cloud Edition coming out on November 11th. Also Atari 50th Anniversary Celebration comes out on November 11th. That's one that I did not see coming, and it's kind of exciting, but crazy to think that Atari's been around for 50 years as well, I guess. Or maybe it's just the celebration. I don't know, but it said 50 anniversary celebration, so I'm assuming 50 years. Resident Evil 3 Cloud Edition comes out on November 18th. And then, of course, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet comes out on November 18th as well. And just after the next podcast on November 22nd, Just Dance 2023. And this is, of course, Just Dance's new foray into what's going to be the new franchise that they're going to be building upon over the next, however knows how long it's going to go, whether they're going to just release song updates basically every year instead of a brand new game. It's just going to be building upon this whole franchise and database of songs from here forward. So on November 22nd, that's when that all starts. So Greg, any games that's brand new games that you're excited about, or going to be playing some on the backlog this next couple weeks?
Well, I definitely am excited for the Pokemon games, but I believe that will probably be something that I get for Christmas, just because I like that. We've done that with like Diamond and Pearl last year, with like my dad getting that, like both those for both me and my daughter. So I had already requested Scarlet and Violet be those games this year. So unfortunately, I might have to wait until December to play them, but definitely very hyped for them to begin with. But it'll probably, in terms of what I'm playing, it'll be mostly just more backlog games, as I have. It just keeps growing bigger and bigger, and there's always more games to play.
There's always Xenoblade.
Yeah, I do need to dive into that. I ended up buying a darn new copy of the game. I just need to put it in.
Which
I've
game?
been Xenoblade 3.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy.
I was like, I don't think Barry really caught what you said.
I didn't hear it. It didn't come through.
Yeah, so I did buy the actual new version of the game because I was tired of looking for an old one. But since the last podcast, it's just been trying to cover these review games in time, and everything the games that get provided, I've unfortunately take precedence over those. So I don't think we'll really. I don't know if we have a game chat for next time or if I have a code for one, but hopefully should have some Xenoblade time in before next podcast.
Nice. That's gonna make Barry very, very happy.
Very happy indeed.
Jakester says he's going to finish the Pokemon special episodes and start the legendary hunt and continue Mother 3 and Paper Mario. So if you're in the chat, be sure to let us know what you guys are going to be playing over the next couple weeks. Jakester also said that he had his prediction for the next Indie World: no Hollow Knight or no Hollow Knight Silk Song. Maybe we will see in a couple days. Barry, we're going to be playing over the next couple weeks.
I am going to be finishing Harvestella, and depending on when I finish Harvestella will determine if I start Sonic Frontiers or God of War, or save that time for Pokemon and then play those titles afterwards, because I know Pokemon's getting my attention on the 18th. And I've got a 2 weeks or a week and a half till then, and I figured at this point in Harvestella I would probably be on chapter 4 or 5 out of 9, if not further. And chapter 3 just opened up, and there's so much to do, and there's so many quests, and I'm just having so much fun that it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm not going to try to rush this. I'm just going to enjoy this game and have fun with it, and then I'll get to those other games when I get to them. There's two other big games that you didn't mention. One for me at least, Neo Geo Pocket Color Collection 2, which has the first U.S. release for well, it came out digitally standalone, but it's part of this as well. The Mega Man Neo Geo game, which was only released in Japan, which is a Neo Geo Pocket Color version of the two arcade Mega Man games, the Power Battle and the Power Fighters. So that's really cool to see that getting out there and getting a physical release for the US. And then Tactics Ogre Reborn, which is a fantastic strategy, turn-based strategy game. Right up Greg's alley. Great to see that game come back for the Switch.
That's cool. That's cool. Jared also says he's excited for Sonic tomorrow and then Pokemon as well. Yeah, I think of the games we haven't talked about yet, I am interested. I'm a sucker for old Atari games. I think it's because I never actually owned an Atari, and I think it's just that sort of thing. So every once in a while, I'll buy one of those collections. They put it out, and I probably own like so many different copies of Atari collections over the years. But yeah, celebrating 50th anniversary, I'll have to look more into that because that kind of it hit me by surprise when I was looking through the list of games earlier. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to get Pokemon right away, but I'll eventually be getting it kind of like Greg. So at some point I'll be playing the game. I just don't know if it would be one of those day one purchases or not. But yeah, there's several games. I mean, I got to go back to Life is Strange 2 at some point. I mean, get back to that game. But then there's
so many games.
There's so many games, and there are we've had several indies recently, like Greg said too, like of codes we've gotten or different ones that have been sent over to me. I've got several. I feel like that we keep getting that are like unsolicited and sent over, and I didn't want to check them out and stuff like that. So we'll report on those on future podcasts too, if any of them are worth mentioning, or maybe they're not worth mentioning at all, except for, hey, just skip this game, by the way. But we'll make sure that we give some updates on those on future podcasts. Like we said, our next one is going to be recorded live on November 21st, 2022. We'd love for you to jump in that a few days before Thanksgiving here in the United States. What do you guys get any big plans for Thanksgiving? Just eating a lot of turkey?
Yeah, it was probably just going to be time with the family, at least on Thursday. Friday, I'll have a little bit of time with my daughter, and then it will be probably just playing like Roblox and setting up Christmas stuff and whatnot. And the weekend will just be whatever. I probably catch up on some games or whatever. I don't know if I have any immediate plans for that weekend after. But
Nice. Barry, how about you?
For Thanksgiving proper, I actually don't have plans this year, because usually my father-in-law comes up for Thanksgiving, but he's actually coming up 2 days after. He's coming up that Saturday. So we're actually going to be doing our Thanksgiving on that weekend. So I might maybe another family member will go visit or something on Thanksgiving proper, but our Thanksgiving will be the weekend after. And then they'll be here for like a week and a half, and he's bringing his girlfriend. So she's never been to New York. So again, we're going to be doing a lot of those. Let's go to New
Nice.
York things, go to the world, the 9/11 museum, and go different places in Manhattan and Times Square, and show off all that again, because it's great to see people get to experience that for the first time, because it's really majestic.
Yeah.
Especially Christmas time. You get the tree and the lights up, and it's a whole new way to experience it.
It is for sure. Did you ever go to the Thanksgiving parade?
I did not, because
Really?
I like watching it on the TV. I
Okay.
do not need to stand out there, and just like I've never done New Year's at Times Square, because I'm not going to stand out there all day.
No. I definitely would never do that. But the Thanksgiving parade is fun. It's definitely not something I would do. I mean, we did it twice when we were in the Northeast, and And that was good. It was something to do like every several years, but I enjoy it watching it on TV. But it is kind of cool to be there. And there's definitely there are areas that you can be that you don't have to be up there all night long and freezing your butt off the whole time and all that stuff. That you can get a little bit away from the crowds and just show up at like 4 or 5 in the morning instead of staying out all night long as well. So, but
Well,
yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
a good experience. My first experience, it rained on us right like at the tail end of it, and it was
Uh,
gross. Like New York in the rain is not fun,
no.
especially like that kind of rain. It was cold rain. It was just gross, and nothing's open on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
So we
I
grabbed
will.
dinner or lunch at some restaurant, and then we went to the M&M store,
Oh,
and
I love
then
M&M's.
we were like, "There's nothing else to do. Everything else is closed or closing really soon," and we ended up heading back home soon. But the next time we stayed for a few days, stayed the whole weekend, and that was a fun experience.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when I was just in the city, because like everything's going up, but right across the street from Madison Square Garden, literally across the street, still 99-cent pizza place, fresh hot pie, 99 cents a slice, delicious. If you want toppings, it's $1.50 to get a topping, a slice. It was like,
Nice.
oh my God, this is like going back to like the late 90s, early 2000s price. I love this.
That's
Like
awesome.
this, I would eat that all the time because New York pizza, which I love, but like $1 a slice, like
Yeah.
right across from Madison Square Garden, you would think it would be so much more expensive than right outside of Penn Station. I was like, this is perfect. I love New York. You can't
Nice.
beat it. You can't beat that price.
Cool. Well, Greg, anything other things happening in your life you want to talk about before the next podcast on the 21st?
Not. I mean, a lot going on. I mean, obviously for premium edition games, we got Series 5 like for pre-order, so be sure to check those out and put in your orders and everything. And obviously, if you want are a store or something and you want to distribute games, definitely reach out to distribution at premiumeditiongames.com, and we'll set up a deal for you to carry some games into your store. But else outside of those kinds of updates, pretty much not really a whole lot going on. I'll hopefully be able to have some time to play some more games finally, as my list has been kind of lower these last few podcasts.
Hmm, nice. Barry, you still on your podcast tour?
Yeah, I'm still doing some. I don't even remember what I'm up on now. I got one. I just did one for specifically a game. I did two actually. I did for specifically games. Did one for Chrono Cross, which is coming out soon. I think this week, and I did one for Radiant Historia, which is also I think coming out this week, and then I've one this Friday for Donkey Kong Country 3, which is really cool. These certain podcasts they just do specifically just talk about a game, so I'm like, oh, these are fun. So I've been doing some of those, and I do have some in the coming weeks. To go back and visit some friends, which is great to always go back and to previous podcasts and visit friends and hang out. So you'll see me there. And like Greg said, Series 5 for Premium Edition, we extended it because so many people were like, oh, we want to have an overlap of the two halves. So we said, all right, we hear you. And of course, November 16th, we've got Raji, the Enhanced Edition, as well as They Bleed Pixels going. When we just also announced that the collector's edition of Raji will be included, which has that art book that they kept making. It's a 128-page art book, freaking huge. We put it all on a slip cover, as well as we added some extra shadow puppets to that edition. Those will be very limited, but we wanted to make sure that we did something really special for this title, and they kept working on the art book, so we couldn't say no.
That's
But
cool.
definitely check it out. We are doing smaller prints. We're still going to do like the open pre-order kind of deal, but we are going to do smaller prints going forward with the first printing having the slipcase and the sleeve. So if you want that, that is make sure to pre-order because there's no guarantee you will get that
Mm,
afterwards in a second chance.
mm,
So we really want make sure everyone has what they want with that.
nice, nice. Yeah, I think the next couple weeks is going to be getting ready for all the holiday season and stuff like that for me. So hopefully I'll continue to find some time for gaming in the midst of life getting probably pretty busy over the next couple weeks. But hopefully I'll find some time in there. But yeah, like we're going to be back on live for the next episode on November 21st. So, like I said, if you haven't ever joined us live, be sure to do that. Record at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. And we're streaming live on Twitch and YouTube, and would love for you to jump on there. And if you are new to the podcast and you have not subscribed on your favorite podcast app, we'd encourage you to do that as well. And also, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, subscribe, follow us. Hit that bell also on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live, every time we post a new video, and share this with other Nintendo gamers in your life, other gamers in general, but we talk a lot about Nintendo. So if you know anybody else in your life, friends, family that would also enjoy this kind of discussion, be sure to share the podcast with them as well. We'll see you on social media. We'll see you on the Discord, and also we'll see you live in a couple weeks. But until then, happy gaming, everybody.
Have a good one.
See you next time.